You know that cuff they wrap around your arm at pretty much every single medical visit? Ever wonder what that's really all about? It's checking your blood pressure, a vital sign we all hear about, but let's be honest, most of us don't fully get it. Today, we're gonna change that. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with how your body's pressure system actually works. Then we'll decode those numbers you see on the screen. We're going to uncover why high blood pressure is so dangerous, give you a real toolkit for managing it, and finally talk about when medication might be necessary. So, what's the big deal? Why all the focus on this one measurement? Why is it one of the very first things a healthcare provider checks every single time? The answer is simple, but it's also incredibly serious. Because high blood pressure has a nickname, and it's a scary one, the silent killer. Why? Because it usually has no symptoms at all. You can feel perfectly fine while behind the scenes, it's quietly setting the stage for major health problems like heart attacks and strokes. That's why understanding this is so critical. So, to really get a grip on this, we've got to understand what blood pressure even is. Let's take a look at the basic mechanics of what's happening inside your body right now, this very second. The easiest way to think about it is like water pressure in a garden hose. As your heart pumps blood, that blood pushes against the walls of your arteries. That force, that's your blood pressure. Simple as that. And here's where it gets interesting. It follows the Goldilocks principle. You don't want it too low because then your tissues aren't getting enough oxygen. That's why you might feel dizzy if you stand up too fast. But you really don't want it too high. That constant extra force literally starts to damage your blood vessels over time. It has to be just right. So what actually controls that pressure? Well, it really boils down to three main things. First, cardiac output. That's just how much blood your heart is pumping out. Second, something called vascular resistance, which is basically how tight or relaxed your blood vessels are. And finally, artery compliance. Think of it as how stretchy your arteries are. Healthy arteries are flexible, which helps keep the pressure stable. But when they get stiff, your heart has to work way harder, and that pushes your blood pressure up. All right, now for the part we all see on the monitor, but maybe don't fully understand. The numbers themselves. You know that 120/80 thing? What does that actually mean? Okay, so you get two numbers. The top number is your systolic pressure. That's the peak pressure right when your heart is squeezing and pushing blood out. The bottom number is diastolic. That's the pressure when your heart relaxes between beats. Both of them are crucial, and they each tell an important part of the story. And this is how those numbers get sorted into different categories. You see, normal is less than 120/80. As the numbers creep up, you hit elevated, then stage 1 and stage 2 hypertension. And notice that keyword for hypertension is or. That means if either your top number or your bottom number is consistently in that higher range, it's a concern. This brings us right back to why we call it the silent killer. Let's really dig into the specific dangers of living with untreated high blood pressure day in and day out. This is the single most important thing to get. Most people have absolutely no clue their blood pressure is high. You feel fine. There are no warning signs. Things like headaches, they usually only show up in really severe cases, often after the damage has already started. And here you can see what that long-term damage looks like. That constant high pressure acts like a physical force, battering the inside of your arteries. This makes it way easier for plaque to build up, leading to heart attacks and strokes. It also just flat out overworks your heart muscle, which can lead to heart failure, and it can wreck the tiny, delicate vessels in your kidneys. It can even cause dangerous bulges in your arteries called aneurysms. This is serious stuff. Okay, I know that sounds pretty grim, but here is the really good news. High blood pressure is manageable. So let's switch gears and talk about your personal toolkit for getting it under control. First things first, you have to get an accurate reading. And how you measure matters a lot. Whether you're at home or at the doctor's office, you need to be relaxed, feet on the floor, for at least 5 minutes beforehand. Avoid caffeine or exercise for half an hour, and please, no talking during the measurement. These simple steps can make a massive difference in accuracy. Now for the powerful stuff. What can you actually do? Well, let's start with exercise. Consistent aerobic and resistance training can lower your top number, your systolic pressure, by an average of 4 to 6 points. That is a huge impact from just moving your body. What about diet? Just reducing how much sodium you eat can bring your systolic pressure down by an average of almost 5 points. For many people, this is a major game changer. And yes, weight matters. For every kilogram of body weight you lose, that's about 2.2 pounds, you can expect your blood pressure to decrease by about 2 points. You can see how this can add up fast. One really proven strategy is the DASH diet, which stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. It's not about restriction, but about focusing on foods rich in things like potassium and magnesium, like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. Limiting alcohol is also a big one. The evidence here is super clear. For women, consuming more than 1 drink a day, and for men, more than 2, is linked to a significantly higher incidence of hypertension. Moderation is a powerful tool. But what if you're doing all of these things and your numbers are still stubbornly high? Well, that brings us to our final section, the role of medication. And this is so important to understand. Sometimes lifestyle changes just aren't enough. You can't control everything, right? Your age, your genetics, they play a huge role. In these cases, medication isn't a failure. It's a necessary and often life-saving tool to get your blood pressure into a healthy range. This quote really just sums it all up perfectly. The goal is to avoid those severe consequences down the road. If lifestyle changes get you there, fantastic. But if you need medication to help, that is absolutely the right call, because the alternative is a risk that is just not worth taking. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Your blood pressure numbers are telling a story about your health, even when you feel perfectly fine. The question is, are you listening? Are you in control of your silent numbers?